for how to allow for a break without leaving the group in a place too much discomfort.
Yeah. So I can give a little bit of context from that. So I used to, at my former organization, one of the program models that we would do training was Holocaust education support for educators. And so we would have this 3-hour workshop, but knowing that these educators are doing 45, 50-minute classes. So it was providing, this kind of goes back into that safely in, safely out piece. So knowing like, our time's about to wrap up, but we're kind of in an intense place. What is something that we can do to not create closure, because that's not going to happen, but what's something that we can do so that they can put a pin in the concept or get to a place where they can walk away with it when we're sending them back out to their job or back out into the real world with some button up something, if it's not closure, but some way to get it kind of that, time is short, but I want to do something that helps round it out.
Wonderful. We're going to add this to the knowledge base. Hope you all found the knowledge base. There's probably 30 or 40 clips like this. I would not have thought to have this in the course, so this will be in the course moving forward. I want to join you in the intention of even a foundational, quick playing card activity for 45 minutes and what are microaggressions. People could re-trigger themselves, and you may not know that they need to have safely out. So they need to have time to kind of breathe so that they're not going out as deeply triggered as they might have gotten. So even if you don't think it's happening, I love this idea of always planning the last 10 minutes of a 45. If it's a full day, the last maybe 20 minutes for some type of closure, if not more. Action planning, something that helps folks still be in their full body, but moving towards a futuristic. So a couple thoughts would be, you'll notice in some of the videos that are probably coming up for some of you, I ask, it's the SAGA, S-A-G-A, share, analyze, generalize, apply. It's how you teach a skill and a concept as well as debrief. And so towards the end, if you have people still kind of emotion, always do that share. Just want to take a moment, everyone just write down what you're feeling. And the power of writing it down, first of all, everyone's doing it. A few may share, but they're getting it out of them. It's still in them, but they're getting it so they can observe themselves. And so just write down how you're feeling. This has been so powerful. And then turn to a partner and talk about how you're feeling and the impact of this powerful conversation. So they're having to reflect on the conversation, which gets them a little separate from the re-triggered emotions. I'm not about stuffing emotions, but to your point, they're going back in a work environment, which might be career limiting if they react on those emotions in ways they didn't plan. So writing, sharing, even the whole group, take a deep breath, take another, so 3 deep breaths, and just say, what's been the impact of this? This has been so a few people, so the whole group reflects, if you want to do it that way. Then I would move into something around envisioning. And it's not like tying it in a bow, but leaving them in a place where they're envisioning a different world. And so given what we've talked about, what kind of world do you want to continue to help create? What kind of a work environment do you want to work in? I wonder if that will activate, they're using their emotion, passion to creating, in your case, instead of learning about the horrific genocide, slaughter. So what kind of a world do we want to have today and for our children and our grandchildren and nieces and nephews? Something like that might energetically, the last few minutes. Bye, Sophie. A wish for the future. They could all write out. We've been talking so much about the past and how the past is influencing the present. What's your wish for the future? And you could have I like bright colored paper. Could even be note cards. and a wish for, ooh, I just got chills, a wish for the young people in our lives. However you have young people in your life. And they write that out, trade it 5 times, and then read 5 or 10 in the room. That would be a brand new idea, but I like it. It's a different way of people envisioning, and energetically it may shift. And then there's always the tell them the truth. We have 45 minutes to talk about something that may be deeply retriggering for all kinds of reasons. And I guarantee you, I'm literally going to set my phone so that when it goes off, we're just going to kind of about 15 minutes left. We'll kind of close up what we're talking about, because I want to use at least the last 10 minutes to have a conversation about impact, insights, where do we go from here? And the reason I'm doing it, because I was in a workshop like this where they did not do that, and I left raw and full of emotion, and I went out, and I won't tell you what I did or said, but it was career limiting for a little while. And so I want to honor our work, but I also want to honor the context we're working in. And I want to use that last 10 or so minutes so that collectively we support each other. Now, how do we go back after we talk about sexual assault in the workplace? Something like that. So I'd let them know at the beginning. You might even want to put in your marketing. Say, these are short and we're talking about a heavy. And so we'll have about 30 minutes to talk about ... In the last 10 or 15, it'll be, so how do we then bring this lessons into the work environment? So you let them know. Again, we were just on some call and someone said, so last 5 minutes, someone drops something that's really heavy. That could happen as well. But if you're prepared and you're letting people know, this is my intent, and then you can always plan to stay. If you notice that some people are still very much in an emotional triggered state, plan your schedule at least another half hour always after every workshop to clean up and stay, talk to people. But at the beginning, you might say, even with that 10 minutes, there might be folks that you've planned, that you want to hang out and just keep talking, or you want to go for a walk just so you're in a place where you can come back to work. That was fun. Anybody have anything else on that? And then I probably need to wrap this because I have to get out of this hotel room. Anybody else want in? I see Cole, you moving in.
Yeah, because I do that at the end of all my groups, and I just remind people that even though we're just sharing words, we're also sharing the energy behind the words, and that can be really unsettling. So there are some helpful things like be sure and drink lots of water and be very gentle with themselves, and let there be longer pauses between the time that they react, that something happens and they react. And I feel like just saying it, like everything you were saying, just saying it is so that their attention is drawn to their inner state makes all the difference. I love that question.
I love the question. To your point, you could even say, as in the last 10 minutes, just take a moment, 0 to 10. What's the intensity of your emotions right now? Mm-hmm. And how about close your eyes, but people call out numbers. You could do a quick temperature check. And if you're getting a lot of 9s and 10s, I would do some stress releasing. Mm-hmm. So whether it's the body work, visualize the world you want to create. So they're literally in their body visualizing meetings that go really effectively, communities that come together to dismantle, in this case, anti-Semitism, or I'd said sexual assault, so violence against folk. Be prepared with other stress releasing, whether it's breathing or getting people up and stretching. Any and all of that body work could help people integrate body and emotion. And then I loved how you said, and you may feel you're just pretty centered right now. And you might find the next time someone says something, you have a quick trigger. Mm-hmm. So I love the coaching you did. Here are the 3 things to do if you find yourself a higher emotional reaction than you thought. Mm-hmm. And then drink some water before you talk, write down a response before you say anything. Do not hit send on the email. So having a bunch of those, how do you navigate when you don't even know you're triggered?
Yeah, something you just said too made me think that I could say something like the part of you that may have been triggered in this conversation, maybe make a deal with her that you're going to address this later, that you don't have to address it right now at work.
Yeah. And so some tools, that's an interesting idea. I'd love to think about it for a day. and then talk to you about it again. So giving them 3 tools, they're in a conversation. How do you not have that conversation? And the other thing, which reminded me, is you can make a contract with the part of you that feels triggered to say, so we're about to go into 2 more hours of work. I promise you tonight, I will spend time with you. We're going to stretch out with Kleenex, and I have a feeling we're going to be crying. Could you just wait a couple hours before? And while some people might think that sounds kind of silly, it works. I've negotiated with myself. I'm like, okay, I got to finish this workshop. And I might even write down, I will sit with my feelings in 2.5 hours, Kathy. So write yourself an IOU or whatever. So those are great strategies off of your wonderful question, Malia. And thanks, Cole, for chiming in of how do you help a group that may be more emotionally reactivated than they may know, or you have time. So how do you design that in? And then other ways to support people moving back into their work environment or family environment or driving, whatever they're doing.